Disability Pride Month. What is Disability Pride Month, you may ask? Well, disability pride is taking pride in living with disability and talking about disability in your life and to others, to advocates, to people who are policymakers, to just everybody. It's about being yourself as a person with a disability. There is a pride flag for disability, as there is a pride flag or flags for regular Pride Month. Let's take a look at what Disability Pride flag is. It is again the color of rainbow, a little slightly different um, than the rainbow flag for LGBTQIA month, but each color has a difference, and each color represents things. First, we're going to start off from left to right, bottom to top, and I'm going to name the colors as we go. The pride flag was created by Anne Magill. Pardon me if I'm misspelling it. If you watch this, help me spell it right. Anyway, the color red in the Disability Pride Month, it represents people with physical disabilities. That's, people who have amputations, height challenges, um, whether they're dwarfs or just because of other things. Um, People who may walk with a limp, who may have cerebral palsy, which also goes into another color, um, and many other disabilities that are physical. The color gold, it represents cognitive and intellectual disabilities. As you may notice, it is right next to the color red. Why? Because again, that kind of connects with physical disabilities, as people who have cerebral palsy also have cognitive and intellectual disabilities sometimes. People who have spina bifida are technically on the intellectual and developmental disability spectrum. People who have autism sometimes have physical disabilities. That's also on the cognitive and intellectual disability spectrum. As you can tell, they kind of go together. Pardon me, it is a coffee talk, by the way. The color white, it represents non-visible and undiagnosed disabilities. What is that? Autism is not visible many of the times. If you look at somebody with autism, you may or may not know that they have autism. It also is sometimes people who have dissociative identity disorders. Technically, that is a disability in some aspects, although people live with it. It represents things that, speech difficulties, or people who are deaf or hard of hearing, or even some people who are visually impaired, or even though sometimes you can tell someone is blind, or, sometimes you can't, so it represents things like that. The color blue, which is right above it, represents psychiatric disabilities. Again, that is a non-visible disability, so it kind of ties in with that. Um, it can be all sorts of disabilities, whether um, people who live with oh, um, you know what I'm talking about. My brain is um, offline right now. Anyway, it represents those type of disabilities. And finally, the color green, which is next to it, represents sensory disabilities. And it represents, like, it also can represent autism, which is a sensory disability, but it also represents any other type of disability. Some people are sensitive, to touch. They can't, some things, or they are sensitive to the air. They're sensitive to, or, something in the air, whether Some people may be allergic to a scent, so that's a sensory disability. And if you notice, it's kind of dark around it, and I've been told that kind of represents people who, um, forgive me if I'm wrong, who um, who may not be here with us anymore in the disability community. Um, but anyway, that is what the disability pride flag is. Now, as a person with non-visible disability, unofficially diagnosed on some aspects of my disability, and cognitive and intellectual disabilities, um, I'm a person that believes all means all. And advocacy is advocacy is advocacy is advocacy. Whether you're advocating for yourself, you're advocating for others, you're advocating, for, let me turn this off. You're advocating for the rights of other things in the community. You're talking about, why institutions are wrong. Advocacy is what we do. Now, there are some people in the developmental disability community that say the term self-advocacy is the developmental disability term. And my thing is, no. Self-advocates are people who advocate for their own needs, whether it's developmental, physical, psychological, sensory, all means all. And as Judy Human said, I want to see feisty disabled people change the world. We can't do that if we're in our own silos, y'all. That's why Disability Pride Month is so important. We need to step out of silos and connect to one another. Y'all have a great day. In a little while, I'm going down and watch a fun movie, Bingo Flicks. And yes, it is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but it's fun. Y'all have a great day. Bye.